Okay, for next function, we are going to proceed into how to sketch a square root function. So we know that square root is a punca kuasa. Okay, kamu kena tahu juga condition untuk square root apa. We know that x cannot be negative. Okay, x mesti greater than 0, greater and equals to 0. Okay, so basically for square root function, we have 4 basic shapes. Okay, ini ialah shape pertama, shape kedua, shape ketiga, shape keempat. Okay, sometimes kita panggil square root function ni sebagai shooting stars. Okay, so macam mana nak ingat square root function? Dia ialah shooting stars. Okay, starting from a starting point, dia shoot ke sini. Okay, starting from here, dia shoot ke sini. Starting from here, shoot ke the other side and this side. Okay, kita panggil dia shooting star lah. Okay, so how to know the shape of the graph? So the first one here, dekat sini, kalau kamu tengok, x kita positif, y kita positif. And that will be y equals to positive square root positive x. Okay, so apa yang saya tengah cakapkan ni? So yang di luar, simbol yang di luar ni represents your y. Okay, simbol yang dalam ni represent our x. Okay, so contohlah yang dekat sini. Kita ada ini ialah positive x, ini ialah negative y. Betul tak? Nilai y semua negatif kat sini, nilai x ialah positif kat sini. So this is the function for this graph kat sini ialah y equals to, okay, y kita negatif kan yang ni. So dia akan jadi negative square root, x kita positif, so dia akan jadi positive x. Okay, so for this one here, kita ada positive y, negative x. So here the function is y equals to positive negative x. Okay, so for this one, the last one, the shape here untuk kat kuadran 3 ni, here will be, kalau kita tengok kat sini, x negatif, y pun negatif. So dia akan jadi negative square root negative x. Okay, so that are the 4 basic shapes for our square root function. Okay, so this is the general form of our square root function. So dekat luar ni, yang di luar ni ada plus minus lah, which is akan determine the shape of the graph. Okay, the shape of the graph. So macam biasa, the first thing that we have to find is the basic shape. And then the second thing is we have to find the starting point. Okay, starting point. So starting point kita sama jugalah macam absolute value kita, which is dia ialah nilai A, B. Okay, so apa tu starting point? Here is our starting point. Okay, dekat mana kita nak shoot star kita tu? Alright, and then the third thing here we have to find apa dia? Macam biasalah, takkan tak biasa lagi. X-intercept, Y-intercept. Okay, so now how to sketch a square root function, a shooting star function. Kita adalah panggil a shooting star function. Okay, so the first thing is we have to determine the shape. Okay, this is very important part. Okay, so here kita tengok di depan square root, di luar square root positif, di depan x positif. So we know that positive x, positive y, positive x, positive y ialah di kuadran yang pertama. Okay, so di kuadran yang pertama maksudnya daripada kuadran pertama dia akan pergi kepada starting point kita, ataupun boleh juga daripada starting point kita shoot ke kuadran pertama. Okay, so the second thing that we have to find is the starting point. Okay, so starting point. So starting point ialah yang di dalam ni. We know that x plus 5 is equals to 0, x is equals to negative 5. So our x coordinate is negative 5. Y ialah apa yang berada di luar B kita. Okay, so kat sini tak ada apa-apa. So that will be 0. Okay, so the starting point is negative 5, 0. Okay, now let's quickly find our x-intercept and y-intercept. We will have x-intercept, which is when y equals to 0. So we will have square root x plus 5 equals to 0. Square root pindah sebelah akan jadi 0 juga. So here our x is equals to negative 5. Okay, whereas our y-intercept, we will have y equals to square root 0 plus 5, which is we are going to end up with square root 5. Okay, so now we have everything that we want. So let's sketch our square root function. Okay, we draw our axis here. We have x-axis and y-axis. Okay, so macam yang graph sebelum ni, the first thing that we have to do is the point yang kita nak cari, benda yang nombor 2 tu. Okay, so here we have the starting point. This is the first thing that we have to plot. Okay, so we have -5 around here, -5, 0. So this is our starting point. Okay, so the shape of the graph kita tahu dekat sini, okay, daripada kuadran yang pertama. So from the starting point, shoot ke kuadran yang pertama. Okay, so we know that our x-intercept is -5. So this is x-intercept. Y-intercept is square root 5. So label square root 5. Label our graph x plus 5. Okay, so let's find our domain and range. So domain we will have okay, from left to right. Tak ada graph. The graph starts here. Okay, which is -5. And that should be -5 sampai ke infinity. Okay, as for range, from down to up, tak ada graph. The graph starts here. So the value of your y here is 0 lah. Okay, so 0 close up to infinity. Okay, so that will be our range and domain. Okay, so let's do question B. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do, we have to determine the basic shape. Okay, basic shape. Lukis je, draw je dekat mana yang kamu nak. So now we know that here kita punya y ialah yang di luar ni. Ini ialah y kita, ini x kita. Okay, x. So since our x is negative, y kita pun negative. Okay, x kita negative, y kita pun negative. So x negatif ialah di sini, y negatif ialah di sini. So dia berada di kuadran yang ketiga. Okay, so the shape should be looking like this. Okay, daripada starting point, shoot ke kuadran yang ketiga. Okay, so boleh jelas kita tengok x negatif, y kita negatif. So x negatif, y negatif, which means dia daripada kuadran yang ketiga. Okay, so the second thing that we have to find is our starting point. Okay, shooting star mesti kena ada starting point. So starting point kat sini, fokus dekat x kita. So letkan dia equals to 0. 1 minus 2x equals to 0. So x we are going to get 1/2. Okay, so starting point. So the coordinate of x is 1/2. Coordinate of y is apa yang ada di luar ni, which is 2. Okay, so that is your starting point. So now we have to find our x-intercept and y-intercept. So x-intercept is when y equals to 0. So we will have 2 minus 1 minus 2x equals to 0. Okay, ini ialah kamu punya square root equation lah. Okay, set equation kamu. So here is 1 minus 2x equals to 4. We are going to have x is equals to -3/2. Okay, so as for y-intercept pula, when x equals to 0, we will have y equals to 2 minus 1 minus 0. So 2 minus 1, kita akan dapat 1. Okay, so we have everything. We have our starting point, we have our x-intercept, we have our y-intercept. So let's sketch our square root function. Okay, so we draw our x-axis here. Okay, so the first thing that you have to draw, you have to plot is your starting point. So we have our starting point 1/2, 2. So 1/2 is around here, 2 is somewhere there. Okay, this is the starting point. Okay, so we know that the graph akan shoot ke kuadran 3. Okay, kita dah decide tadi, ini akan shoot dekat kuadran 3. So dia boleh shoot ke sini or dia boleh shoot ke sini. Okay, so that depends on your x-intercept and y-intercept. That's why kita cari x-intercept and y-intercept dulu. So since kita punya y-intercept positive, x-intercept kita negative, so graph kita akan lalu atas lah instead of bawah. So graph should be shooting here. Okay, right, so this is our y1. Our x-intercept is -3/2. Okay, So don't forget to label your graph y equals to 2 minus square root 1 minus 2x. Okay, so let's find our domain. Apa domain kita? Iya, betul. Negative infinity to 2 ke 1 over 2? Ingat, domain kita refer to x. Okay, graph berhenti di sini. Di sini ialah 1 over 2. Okay, 1 over 2, close. Okay, so range kita pula is negative infinity to 2. Okay, so that is how we find our square root function. So make sure you know how to find our starting point. Okay, kita buat quickly lah on this one. Contoh soalan B, contoh soalan A dekat sini. Okay, so here your x kat depan ni ialah positif, y kita negatif. Okay, x positif, y negatif. Contoh kalau kita ada quadrant, x positif ialah di sini. Okay, y negatif, silap pula, x positif ialah di sini. Okay, y negatif ialah di sini. So graph kamu akan shoot di sini. Okay, so very important to know your basic shape. Kalau tak faham, boleh balik tengok balik, cuba satu-satu, and you can consult with me. Okay, this one the Mr. DIY, make sure kamu buat. Okay.